claimed that were forged signatures. Maybe you remember some of the accusations.
While chief and the body politic should not participate in partisan politics.
Wakateka na wakwaka injito is preoccupation.
Thank you for joining us and welcome to Society, which comes to you every Wednesday between 18 and 19 hours. The news and current affairs program, which comes to you every week on Wednesday from 18 to 19 hours. Every week we discuss issues affecting the nation. And we're live on GoTV, channel 96, on Top Star, channel 458, on Movie TV, channel 43, as well as on our Facebook page, the also in TV, Zambia, so you can go to the comment right here on what you want to contribute to this program. And my guest this evening is Francis Kope, who is the national spokesperson for youth people that who's actually help us look at looking back at 2018 through the eyes of the people debate, as well as also look at the number of issues affecting the nation, such as national dialogue, the issue of the alliance by the political parties, also the issue of the inquiry into the privatization of national assets, among other topics that are lined up this evening up for discussion. I'm your host, Darafi Karongo, and welcome to the program, Mr. Kope.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
And my first guest in 2019.
Wow, I'm thankful. Thank you very much. It's good to be here. Now it is feeling like a place that we can count on. Because this is a rare opportunity that we need to express ourselves. For the party that we can do that. I mentioned last year, I must be decided that the legacy is strong, and when we are given such a to be on air, we need really to we appreciate the support to the party as well as the people.
Now, looking at your personal level, how has it been there as we move forward into this new thing?
Okay, you said that personal level.
Yes, and Francis Kope.
Wow.
Before we come to the now putting the title new national spokesperson.
Wow, 2018 was very exciting as an individual. It was very exciting. Wow, it started so well. Because 2018 started when I was doing media. I know you're vying for the presidency of the International Organization for Peace.
Yes. Which you are the vice president.
Okay, so at least I was elected. Of course, I was elected president.
After campaigning for you.
Of course, yeah, for some I want to thank you for that. I was an elected president. So we elected, we fund, we were recruit, representing the country in different meetings, developmental meetings. The meetings started very good. We went to Senegal went for January and decided I identified myself with a new gift talking about the plight of the people of Zambia. He said, you're the first person to Zambia as a spokesperson. Contested the election in Chilanga. Wow. So it was good.
We continue to sing first one for so quick. Thank you for instance.
Claimed that were forged signatures. Maybe you remember some of the accusations.
While chief and the body politic should not participate in partisan politics.
Wakateka na wakwaka injito is preoccupation now is to give a good service to the people of Zambia.
Kuzisa abana bange kuba nili pano so nina abana kunyumba huko so pano nili kambi pano nikatulipia ndiramba.
For us, we only ride on the facts. Respect the decision of the party. Whoever they're going to choose, but signal and numbers can go and show.
You were once members of the party.
Yes.
Consider for you to come back.
Siyopotera musogoleri wameneakeringa musogoleri wamenanganya pali future.
Aya marali enango baota abantu kukwera kusogolo, but UPPZ is trying to show a difference.
The issue I'll never rest until we see justice served.
Unapotwaikala mwa Julius unokusekelela unyemba wati twachula sana ama voting yaisa ba MP bafukama bakunjula sikotereni ifo tukakunja ifro.
Welcome back and thank you for staying tuned. This episode has some technical issues that we experienced right here in our studios. Apologies for the breaking on our program. Mr. Kope, we are talking about the issue of contesting the Chilanga CRM. To get that experience that we've seen on the montage there, where Mr. Kope was saying, how they want to contest. Also, like, how was your experience contesting an election for the first time after the media platform?
Wow, it was interesting, very interesting. First of all, I was the first UPPZ candidate. We had not participated in any election as UPPZ until the time that the president picked me as a candidate for Sri Lanka. So it was our first election. Obviously coming on the scene from a different profession and things. The good part is that in media fraternity we serve the people. We look at the interest of the people. That's why there is a part we call human interest in journalism. So what is at heart? It's the interests of the people at the end of the day, and human interest issues and things like that. So it was easy for us to interact with the people, communicate with the people, as well as bring out what they would want or what they would expect in the leader. Somebody today was chatting with me, looking at the monitoring elections and all the happenings from afar, the out of the country, saying that, wow, from what we saw, with the candidate at that particular time, so I put in place the party was the right political party and things like that. And what happened? I said, oh wow, this is Zambia. This is Zambia. So yeah, otherwise it was a very nice experience at the end of the day, interacting, talking to the people. I can tell you that I visited the people. I was doing door-to-door campaign on the internet first time with people. There are a few places that I just went there and just I would go just talking to the people, things like that, and people develop that trust that doesn't really. But political party or maybe why can't you they suggest a number of things and things, but by then we were just establishing in terms of testing the election. That was the best election. The UPPZ president, the South China, did a very good job, very commendable fact, putting everything in place. The campaigns were very good. If you could see him there, I think in all the major rallies that we had, he was there. Besides his busy schedule, sometimes you just pick up some guys from one of the wards and just go and mobilize them and go and campaign door to door. Also, very energetic president. You'll be walking with people, and then you'll be on the other side, you just hear, oh, your president on this side, your president. So by the time you're passing through a place, you just, find posters, already done, and things like that. It was a learning curve. It was a very nice experience. And, what we learned was that colleagues want numbers. They don't care what type of people they send to Parliament. All they want is just to have a number in Parliament and things like that. But we know that we are going to have 2021 who have quality, youthful, intelligent, and vibrant leaders in Parliament.
Now, you took part in a number of elections and mayoral constituents. How do you rate the performance of the party in 2018?
Wow, there was drastic improvement. The improvement just came unexpected. The first election, the second election, the number just kept going up. We participated in Lusaka. Numbers were impressive. We fought in the same field with the Savage Shield. Or been in the game for quite some time, perhaps. Having that as a member of Parliament, now President, participated in 2016 on presidential level, and then thought he was going to be a good mayor, participated as a mayor. That was one of the parties that we just, had beaten without much ado. So they were no match to president. And a few other political parties. So it showed that, one, the fact that we were not part of the political parties that participated in 2016, and here we are getting good numbers, every constituency, good numbers. It showed that, one, we were growing, and the rest were losing. Because more than half of the people, who voted, or in fact not even more than half, and we could say maybe 200% of the people who voted for the PF did vote for them during the year. So it's the situation with the European and other political parties. See? But, and yet we had all these numbers. We are the only political party that came. At that particular time, we were the only political party that grew. We were only the only political party that experienced growth in terms of people voting for the political party. Went to Chipangali. Wow. It was a wonderful election because we were seeing ourselves improving every election that we take part in. Today, go to Eastern Province, Chipata, just the name is Chipangali, and they will tell you about it. You'll hear about it. Kasenengo was just some, the results from Kasenengo constituency, it was out of this world. I mentioned on one of the programs last year at Chimlangi 1, we had 197 votes, followed by a closest right P, 91. Now when you look at the gap and look at the area, look at the number of years that we've been in existence, our experience and things like that, our candidate, a new, young candidate, youth, coming from nowhere, you say, not having any wealth and things like that, but is the candidate, and people say, this is the candidate that we want. We experienced some violence, our supporters being stabbed by PF supporters. It shows you that UPPZ is a force that is coming like water. It is so gentle and yet unstoppable. The strength of the UPPZ can bring down any barrier. The strength of UPPZ, very calm, and yet we're doing something positive that is, convincing the people that the only party are going to do it. So the president camped in Kasenengo, was there throughout. We learned a few things we needed to improve when it comes to our election agents and things like that. Those things that we can protect the vote from we start with the process, before the poll day, before the very poll day, up to the time of announcement and things like that. We need to manage this process very effectively if we need to make an impact. So we came out second in Kasenengo. We moved to Chipangai, which was also a different, not Chipangai, but Mangamu. Very impressive, results. Wherever you could go in Mangamu, people would just show you the scene, the visits, raise their hands and surrender to because it's not just true. We saw a situation where our colleagues had to pump in a lot of money to change perception. With this hunger, with the hunger situation that we have in the country, people would rather have a 10 kwacha, some coins, of votes, especially when these elections are in rural areas, because rural areas, talk of Mangamu, our colleagues deployed 1,500 police officers in Mangango. We had a situation where in Kazawani we have 250 registered voters, and yet our colleagues had placed in that camp about 50 police officers, so it was 4 to 1. And the 4 registered voters, could be manned by 1 police officer, so the ratio. So there were too many police officers, as they are putting a lot of enticing things, alcohol, clothes, money, and things. So colleagues could manage the numbers in Mangamu. They needed a small target, so set about 170 polling stations. So manage money and figure out. So if you don't agree with what they're saying, or if you don't vote for them, you would see the police everywhere, so you can eat their money after all their government. So by-elections have taught us a few things that we need to now be careful, because we need to do another by-election, which is slated for next month. It's a shake. We will endeavor to see to it that we continue preaching and teaching people, because I think at the moment all we need to do is just teach and teach the people what elections are, democracy, and all these things. So these malpractice, legality, and all these things.
Now, how do you rate the performance of the PF government in the last 12 months of 2020 in all spheres, in terms of how handling national issues, key national issues, how they've been dealing with the opposition, among other issues? How are they performed in the year 2020?
Well, the PF had come into government and they promised what more money in the pocket, lower taxes, and invest in more jobs. That is not the case today. There is more violence, more oppression, no jobs, more tax. So, in a nutshell, 2018 has been a taxing because we saw a lot of taxes being introduced we also saw levies, fees, and rates. Levies, fees, be it school fees were higher, toll fees, and other fees, user fees. So we had the situation where a Zambian was being taxed more, and our colleagues were running this propaganda that they were doing us a favor, Zambia, when they build a road that leads to nowhere, which is very expensive, 3 times more costly than in developed countries and other in our neighbors. So PF's rule has been hyperbolism, propagandistic, and they have closed their ears. They don't care why or what you are concerned about. They want to look at your tears. Okay. They just do what they want to do. If you're a farmer, you're complaining, you have received, inputs and things like that, they'll just go ahead and buy it. Very, very expensive. And it doesn't. Anyone who will speak against that, anyone calling these fire trucks, because these fire trucks, it's a small truck, if you have seen it, it's a small truck with a small tank. And it is moving around. Most of them flipped. And these were so-called customized vehicles. So we bought them at 4 times cost and to expense of people dying. Sometimes lack of medicine, lack of proper health care, children and university students think that they are just dying after all the incident that happened because there was no allowance. So the priorities of PF have been upside down. They have tended to look at things that they benefit from. If it doesn't benefit them, if it is benefiting me in Zambia, then it's not important. If a road is a Mazapoka road, which will benefit me in Zambia, they will not care about it. They will do a road in Kamala South, going round Kamala South, because it will benefit someone. Okay. And we saw a number of projects that were overquoted. I think during the opening of this year, January, I think the other year, 2017, getting into 2018, there was a talk of we need to standardize the prices and things and that, so that the PPA would have the list of all the cost of a number of things. Because if you're supplying water, Manzi Valley or Aqua Savannah to your state house, that boat for that you sell or you buy any supermarket at drink water. You can sell it at 25 kwacha. If you have a 10 state house. So you can supply a bottle of water at 35 kwacha. Or what? You can supply a bottle of Coca-Cola at 50 kwacha. So that's how our colleagues, though not a laugh of thing, that's how our colleagues make a lot of money. And they're giving themselves these contracts and things. Did they care about Zambia? No, they don't care about Zambia. But they'll do a few things that would benefit them. I was in what's the place? In Linda compound. Some places in Linda compound where there was a meeting of community school pupils not going to school. I asked before reaching the meeting place, I met a number of pupils, boys and girls around the way. I was asking, do you go to school? No, I'm not in school. So I asked, because you're living there, I'm living there. And then I met this woman, she was walking and she was there. I was asking her, we had a conversation, short conversation, and then she said, no, they're here for the seven. But what? It's not where the Kwenza road and things like that. So she talks about how the PF is doing roads. And then I asked her, are you driving? She doesn't drive. No, okay, thanks for the road. It's a good thing. Then when I reached the meeting place where we were supposed to pledge and give out 1 or 2 things for the school fees and things, then this woman was part of the meeting, and she had a few boys and girls who need to go to school, but she didn't have money. I said, oh. And then I remember that. But she's the person who was praising the peer for the roads, and yet she doesn't have anything to pay for our children. So the propaganda that PF is working with is to convince people have done something good for them, even when they know very well that it has not done anything for them. It has brought misery and suffering. So there is too much that the people have done. The bad outweighs the good. And people believe in the propaganda and talk like things like that. So people, if you also talk like that, they think, right, you're supporting things that they don't understand. So, and when you listen to any of these colleagues, they are almost speaking the same language because they're in it's an echo chamber kind of arrangement where what they say, how they bring it out, it's the same thing. They just listen to themselves. So when they hear anybody saying that, they say, this one is not a good person, they don't appreciate, you are not seeing how we have done this. So they will start pointing at a few things where they've made a lot of money out of such contracts. So 2018 was a sad year for this.
Now going forward, as UPP is doing, following the updates of most of the pages, Mr. page, WhatsApp groups, a number of activities that should put in place that intend to help the youth and the women in this country. I saw one time on Facebook, I put some machines for the addressing, which intends to give out to all the 10 provinces. And there's another issue that have been raised. How do you intend to reach out to all the youth and women in this country as you place yourself to be an alternative in your party come the year 2021 during the general election?
Oh, the issue of reaching out to the people, this has been our business for some time. We have endeavored to at least bring solution to the people because we are a political party that seek to bring solution as opposed to politically. There are a number of projects that we have had starting in 2016, 17, and 18. We have had a number of projects that includes youth empowerment, business empowerment, small business empowerment, women up to date their the other group in Kamara South then calling me if there's somebody who wants to buy raised chicken with chemical. There's some women that are doing that, and we would like your support for all those views. We had done a number of projects, including the Back to School program, and then we intend to continue come this year 2019 up to 2020. Our aim is to be that political party that will not only talk but bring solution in the lives of the people, because I think people have heard a number of sermons. They have heard a number of sermons, and it's time to walk by faith, to walk into the practical aspect. All the political parties are promising this, we'll reform government, we will do this in the year, this and that, we'll do this and that. We don't want to be a political party that will only promise. That's why we intend to empower youths. The president was out of the country. I think he even went to Arab Emirates just to see what he can get for small businesses. Hence that issue that you're talking about, hairdressing and things. This is not the first time that the president is buying a number of items to empower youths. So we want to reach out to youths out there. I think we received some calls on how we're going to distribute and things. We're going to put youths in a group of 10 and then just empower them with such equipment so that they can start up something. Then after they are a little bit stable, they can also empower the next group with such out of their small savings. So it's something that is an ongoing thing. We want by 2020 we want to target at least 50,000 youths to be empowered.
Okay. Now, during the Presidential Empowerment Initiative Fund, which has been going around in churches and in women clubs, they have accused the opposition of saying that you accuse government of trying to, campaign using those funds which the president, gives to, for example, they give women groups, they get them incubators, the youth, they give them those block making machines. Now, how do you look at, even going to churches now to give, churches, some funds which are calling, some form of empowerment funds? Does that in any way compromise how the church, look at issues pertaining to government?
Every time the church goes to bed with government or any type of authority that is ruling and things like that, other than God, there is that compromise on the part of the church. The church needs to be careful. We may end up like some country where you profess Christianity. There's usually nothing to show for it. So dangling a carrot in a church and then giving out this and that, obviously that is aimed at first of all trying to penetrate in these sanctuaries so that they can have a say. That when a pastor receives president, they change the language. most servants of God, the language just changes. We don't want to have a situation where we have a compromised church that is going to be politicians and things like that, especially the ruling government, because at the end of the day, the voice of the church should be a voice of those in need, the needy, the poor, the weak, the oppressed. That is the mission of Jesus Christ. So when you forget your duties and responsibility as a church, then you start looking at a small incubator, 1 or 2 incubators that will be, mind you, it will not solve all the problems, the emotional problems, the emotional challenges that people have. They will not be sorted out. There are widows and widows, orphans and things like that. So we need to be careful as a church not to compromise, but we shouldn't also. The Bible talks about leaders not into temptation. So government should not be leading the church into temptation by dangling the cloud and things like that. Because poverty is real. Christ didn't promise a smooth ride. So there is suffering and things like that. Now, if I'm passing through a few challenges and then you bring a lot of money and things, I want to say that there's a education, but at the end of the day, money is the root of all and things like that. So we need to be careful. The church needs to be very, very careful and to remain pure. That's why the president stands even on the dialogue process. It's been that we need to allow the church to recuse itself. Let's not give this burden to the church. Let's not give this burden to ZCIT, because people will start pointing fingers. If the church, at some point the church or a particular bishop was seen as if he's supporting a certain stance of a political party, and you know, you put the name of the Lord into ridicule, if you are seen as an authority, as a spiritual authority, when you're seen supporting a particular political party. We need to be clear that the church should always be neutral. Hence, the UPPZ president says the church should not lead the dialogue process, but the political party president should sit down and do this process with President Lungu as the chairperson. Meeting, talking, one-on-one, seeing each other, with President there as the chair, and all the opposition president to be there, to be able to talk. Believe you me, you don't need a mediator when it comes to reconciliation, dialogue, and all these things. Why do you need somebody to, I talk through this person and then that person talks to you and then you talk to that person and then why do we need that? Why should we? We need as political parties to meet. Then the president, the Republican president, call a meeting and let's meet as politicians. Talk. Deal with whatever issue. At the end of the day, we will have a meaningful dialogue. Because when we meet, we'll be dialoguing. There'll be dialogue. We'll be talking. We'll be in talking terms. Whatever grudges and whatever. Not until when anything happens and then we cannot agree and things like that. That's when you need the second or third party. The church should be given space to operate in a particular realm, because the church is an important engine to drive a number of issues: standing the gap, spiritual welfare, praying for us, feel like an intercessor, casting out demons of accidents and all those things. So the church has a lot to do. And those that don't do the casting out and praying and interceding, they would visit the sick in the hospitals, and they would do that because every church has its own gift. You see the Catholic, they will do mission schools, mission hospitals and what. You see, the Pentecostals will do their own thing. The Presbyterian, UCZ will also do their own thing, and the SDA will also do their own thing. So every church has its role that is playing, very important role in the society. We should allow them to play their role as opposed to involving them in his politics.
Now, if you look at ZCIT and Free Church mother bodies that in the first place are intended to have this process done sometimes last year in 2018. Now, what do you think the problem is on the part of ZCID and on the part of the church, and why these two bodies cannot, coordinate and not to be seen as if they're siding with some political parties that are part of the dialogue process? And people think maybe this dialogue is between PF and UP, and yet there are many other political parties, in Zambia, which that dialogue is meant for, to bring all the party, presidents for political parties to sit and face each other, look at the number of issues that affect the nation and why there's this, tension amongst all the political parties in this country. Now, where is the problem between, in ZCID and also among the three church mother bodies? These two have tried to come together to have this process, go on, but each time they meet, this one gives their own statement, the other group gives their own statement, and they seem not to be working, as a team. So what do you think the problem is on the part of ZCID, the church, and the fair to coordinate and work as a team to ensure that this, dialogue issue is done before the next coming elections in 2021?
Interests. Perhaps we might need to also get interested and see what interest we have and what interest do all these parties have. Because can you imagine, the process has taken more time than the real issue. The issue has not been dealt with. We haven't dealt with the issue. Talking about the process, we should check. Oh no, this one was supposed to. Okay, we give the chairmanship to ZCID and then going to the church, and the ZCID would be secretariat. No, this time. Oh, okay, there was this meeting, but this one didn't come. But and all those things. As the UPPZ, that's why our position has been: there is no need for the two. Because the ZCID board and things, there's MMD, there's FDD, there's PL. So the extent to which certain political parties are contributing in ZCID sometimes cannot be seen to have much impact. And egos and interests and things like that. So then on the other side, we have the church, which is supposed to play an important role of uniting and things like that, but can't just seem to sit on the same table with ZCID. The last statement was that ZCID was no longer part of the church. They will proceed without ZCID. They don't need ZCID. And somebody was asking, but what is ZCID? What constitutes ZCID? Which you don't need. We only need the political parties, the presidents of the political parties and things like that. We don't need all these processes. We don't need the process to be complicated. Perhaps there should be a situation where colleagues, do the other part, like after the political party presidents meet just themselves, chaired by the Republican president. We can only need the secretariat and other things after such process, when we're in talking terms and things, for the good of dealing with electoral process, the Public Order Act, those other issues, but just dialogue. There's no need for all this. UPPZ stance is that ZCID and the church should not lead. That president should chair. After that, that's when we can decide who can come in, or who should do what. Because by then, we'll be in talking terms. Then we can do, the next thing is this bill should, or this act should be revisited and things like that. What are the recommendations? This and that. The president should be in the forefront, should be seen to want to, talk, or to be in talking terms with all political parties. And it should not be seen
as a political party president. He should be seen as a Republican president. He has the mandate. He has a mandate. You don't need to convince anyone. You're in State House, you're you're driving through, or you've been driven in Ego One and things. You are the president. So even when somebody says, no, this we don't recognize, or there are those issues, of course, they have faced on our way. There is no need to be touchy about trivial things. This is a nation that we're talking about. The challenge that we have is that we have leaders who are not patriotic, who lack patriotism. You will learn that even when we look at Constitution, starting from the 1996 Constitution, where the parentage clause was included and things, the term limit, it's a move where people are looking at themselves, their political party, our president. You don't need to put up a law that seek to advantage a particular political party, because after a few years, even if you're given chance to go again and things, you'll be out of power, and you start regretting over the same law that you yourself created, because it will work against you, because that law was working against the opposition. Even today is in the opposition. You need, as you don't even know what it is. You see? So we have two living presidents who were once president, and three are gone. Okay? So you can be a president today, you can be a ruling party today, but tomorrow you may be a former ruling party, and a former president, a former MP, former minister. Those laws that you had put in place to oppress the opposition will now work against you. So we need a leadership like President Charles Chak led leadership that seek to look at the future generation, at the future development of this country, at good governance tenets that will describe or define Zambia as a country that is focused on improving the welfare of the people, of its people, and of the future generation. We don't need to only be interested in our welfare, in me, myself, and I. That attitude, that is a challenge that we have as we put you in a position you want to fortify yourself, and you want to say it's only MP or honorable who has this privilege, the rest no. At least for the former presidents, they have tried to do something where they get 70% of the salary of the sitting president, because obviously at some point somebody knew that they were going to be former president, and if they don't do the right thing, they will be suffering. So if you put it at 4%, one day you'll be a former president. So that spirit where you think of tomorrow, where you think of the next generation, where you think, if I'm not here, if I'm the one on the opposition side, there are colleagues who are in government, today they are opposition. There are colleagues who were part of PF, today they are in opposition. And these were colleagues who are championing hate, they were championing all these, supporting everything that PF are presented, they supported. Today, because they don't have the comfort of being in government, they see everything as black. Let us have a conscience. A people with a conscience would govern the country accordingly for the good of the people.
Now coming to the issue, Mr. Sinja Evans has tuned in, said he's following the program keenly. Mr. Evans is our colleague in the media. And the issue of the 10 parties which have come together to form an alliance, and on Sunday they had the fundraising event at Intercontinental where they resolved to field one candidate in the 2021 election. And I remember at some point your party, I think, were part of some meetings, and Mr. Chanda wants to contest on UPP's ticket as president in 2021. And the other colleagues have met after the fundraising event. They said they'll field one candidate which they'll back to have a strong, opposition in 2021. What's your position on that? Is UPPZ actively part of the 10 political parties that want to field one candidate ahead of the 2021 general election? Or what's your position in this alliance?
The UPPZ, United Prosperous and Peaceful Zambia, under the leadership of President Charles Chanda, is not part of the 10. Initially, when there was a talk of having a protest over the increased salaries and things like that, we saw a cause. We were invited. We were almost part of that particular meeting because it was something that benefited the people of Zambia at the end of the day. We are a political party, and President Chanda, once President Chanda, if it were to happen, joins an alliance, then and he becomes whatever he will become, if it's a president of the alliance or a spokesperson of the alliance, then all his structures, the SG, the spokesperson, the national chairperson, the youth president, women league president, and all structures around the country, I don't know what they will be. I don't know what they will be. Our political party has a vision. We have a vision to govern this country against all odds. Today, we have participated in a few elections that were not very successful because we didn't win in terms of mayoral, MP, councillor level and things like that. But at least there are gains that we have seen, because what is there is a leadership vacuum that we could clearly see. There is a leadership vacuum, and people want a new leader, somebody with a different type of energy, somebody who will talk something different, somebody who will convince people that there is need to vote again, to dream again as Zambians, to be inspired once again and to live again. Party of Landlord, UPPZ, talking about land empowerment to every Zambian when we form government, because it's simple. We've got 42 million arable land and we only have 16 million Zambians, so every Zambian, we can afford to give every Zambian land which is a title. It is practical, it is not something that is out of this world. We are not part of that alliance, and we will go into an election with the president of UPPZ. Somebody once on another platform asked me about the convention, and they said, which convention? How old are we when you talk about? How can you even talk about convention in our party? How old are we? We are less than a year, or is it 2? How can we talk about convention? Just you start a party and go for a convention. Of course, there are political parties that have been around, which might need some convention of some sort and things like that. We have a candidate, and the candidate is Charles Chanda. According to our constitution, he can stand for at least two elections, but we believe in one campaign, one win for the presidency. That is Team CC. One campaign, one win, and we hope that once we participate in a presidential election, President Charles Chanda is going to win. I was in Mangang when I was campaigning for the Member of Parliament. I reached a place where I was shocked. I was even telling somebody this morning who came from Lesotho, telling them that, you know what, when I was in Mangang the last 3 days, I went to some place where I thought, okay, maybe we haven't touched much this place. I wanted to find a lot of people who knew VBZ. And then I was trying to ask them to vote for a candidate. And then they told me that, you know what, we know Mr. Chanda. He's a good man. We're going to vote for him in 2021. But maybe for a candidate, for now, we have got a candidate that we want to vote for. So they mentioned the name of the candidate. So I tried to entice them, tried everything, said, no, we know that we are going to vote for Mr. Chanda. But unfortunately, for MP, we can't vote for your MP. Not because he's a bad person, But because we had made this decision, this person has always helped us, and you know there was these issues of what said, oh okay, but why do you want to vote for Mr. Chanda? He said, no, Mr. Chanda has presidential qualities, and he looks like a president, he talks like a president, and I think the number of things that he has done, even here in Mangango, he built a community school, he donated some desks, and a number of he has lived with us, because at least Mr. Chanda, you know, was with them for quite some time. So that is President Houston. In a nutshell, we have a capable leader to lead UPPZ and lead Zambia in 2021. That is CC.
Okay. Now my final question is to do with the inquiry into the sale of assets in the 90s. What's your party's position regarding this inquiry, which you know, people are saying should be set up to see who benefited, who got what during that time of no selling of national assets under the FTJ government?
Wow. We were of the view that initially, before this inquiry, of course, we, as a party, have always been concerned about the privatization. I think it was not done in good faith, and we saw the miseries of the people of Kope province, and how people have just suffered and things like that. However, this pronouncement of an inquiry into the sales of these assets and things which was done, you know, years back. Is it 20 years? Honestly, it's a trivial and a futile a process. You don't want to go into that. People have died. People were engaged. People were there. Most of them have died. What will happen? Are you going to arrest them, or are you going to, you know, put some barrier on their graveyard and things like that? You can't start some futile process or in the name of starting a conversation. So this is a strategy. To me, you know, the way I understand media, it's on a different platform, different level. This is just some propaganda to divert people's attention, so that our colleagues can try and get away with a number of should we call them atrocities, or mismanagement of the economy, corruption, and other things. So they necessitate debate. They start debate. Our colleagues are good at starting trivial debate. Remember when there was a financial intelligence report? What debate did PF start? They went for Madame Mary Shom. Started talking about the husband this, the marriage this. We are talking about a lot of financial crimes. You're telling us about somebody's marriage, and they started hammering on that. That is a level of how low we can go when it comes to national issues. We are very strong on useless things, on nothings, on things that will not add any value to anybody. But we are very slow. Fast on useless things, slow on important things. Why is it that we concentrate on things that cannot add a meal or put a meal on somebody who is in Kabwe, in Kwacha, or is it Wacha? Somebody who is in Chipurukusu. You can't help them put a meal on the table. Just want to start conversation, just talking. Why are we talkers? Why should Zambians be reduced to talking? You want to revive something that can never be, come back to life. You want to start a conversation that will not benefit anyone. Who will benefit out of that inquiry? Can the PF give us figures, statistics, projection on who will benefit when this inquiry is done?
Well, thank you, Mr. Kope. time seems not to be on our side, and there are a lot of other issues which I wanted us to discuss, but next time we'll exhaust them. Thank you for
Muhammad.
Okay. This has been the society which comes to you every Wednesday. This has been Abdi Kayombo, and my guest was Francis Kope, the UPP's national spokesperson. See you next week. God bless you, and
They claimed that we had forged signatures. Maybe you remember some of the accusations.
Worship and the body politic.